Hey, everybody, what's going on? Welcome to episode 33 of Climbing the Ladder in this Wednesday afternoon, which is a very weird time and day for climbing the ladder, but I wanted to get one in this week. I didn't want to miss one, especially when we had such a great event over the weekend, and I had, have the pleasure of having Kevin and Frank on the show today to talk about IPL 5. So I did, I wanted to make sure I was going to have a show like Climbing the Ladder this week so we could just talk a lot about IPL 5 and how great it was. So, welcome to the show, Kevin and Frank. How's it going, man?
It's going really well. Yeah, appreciate you guys having us on, and can't wait to start talking about this first show we've done post the event, so it'll be a little bit of a decompress for us, I suppose, after the hectic nature that was IPL 5, but can't wait to talk about it with you guys.
Yeah, I think this will be the warm-up to our post-mortem that we're having tomorrow, because really haven't digested everything that's happened with the event yet.
There you go. Yeah, you can treat this session as kind of I don't know, kind of an outlining session, I guess, for tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really great because we had David pre. I don't know if you remember, but we had David pre-event talk, kind of make announcements as to all, just all the stuff that you were going to have available at the event, which was, amazing when he, made the announcement about frontpageign.com and just, all the awesome, production. Just all the production features and stuff that you were going to have for all the viewers. So that was really cool. And then obviously having you guys on now is going to be really great and really get some of the behind the scenes, I guess, details with, some of the, obviously some of the greatness that you guys had at IPL 5. But I wanted to start off, actually, I wanted to mention that John's going to be coming in a little bit late. He had class today, so he's going to be in a few minutes here. But a lot of people are asking about Mark, obviously about yesterday. So I kind of wanted to announce that Mark will be leaving the show, unfortunately. I want to do like one last show with Mark sometime soon. But today wasn't a good day for him, so we'll probably do it maybe next week, or I'll trying to figure out some time to do it with Mark, and hopefully you'll be able to hear at least Mark's side of the story, because obviously a lot of talk's been going on, but obviously Mark is kind of the you should have it come from the horse's mouth, right? And Mark is obviously part of the show, so. But yeah, so anyways, why don't we talk about that a little bit? Obviously, the big news yesterday was Quantic, shutting down, closing their doors, however you want to say it. How do you guys feel about that?
For me, it is
Yeah.
sad, but almost inevitable at this point. I was tweeting a little bit about this yesterday because you have a company or an esports organization, however you want to say it, that's almost entirely funded by private money, whether Marks or there were the Google engineers that came on a little bit ago. But when you're all private money, it's so hard to have a budget. I mean, I honestly don't know Quantic's exact numbers, but you don't have to have their numbers to know how much money they were spending. They were spending a lot of money. And when you're spending that much money and all your money's private, you really need to be getting some investments really quickly, because that's a lot of money to go out the door for private investors. And it was the same model that I had, and it's not really a place you want to be. And I'm sure Mark, obviously, when he's obviously going to say something about it, it's not what he would have wanted either. So it was kind of a thing where either they were going to have to get a bunch of sponsorships really fast from the success they were having, and they were having a lot of success. But eventually you kind of knew that if they didn't get a lot of sponsorships or revenue in other ways, that it was going to happen.
Kevin, what's your take?
Yeah, I just want to say first off that I feel really bad for the players that are there that didn't know it was coming in some circumstances, and hope very quickly they find a position with another team. But you think about what Quantic has done over the past few months, and it was incredibly ambitious. We often joked on our own stream whenever Quantic or Startail would play that, like, okay, well, slowly one team by one team they're actually taking over the entire world, as you see all the teams that have been absorbed into this giant organization. So what they were doing was ambitious. They had just put 2 players in Korea as well, State and Illusion. On top of that, they had just acquired a Lowell team. So, I mean, really everything. They had a lot of cash out, You didn't really see as many of the sponsors coming back in. So I certainly feel bad for them. I can't say I'm entirely too surprised because I'd known a little bit of the I'm friends with one of the investors that was initially in there and stuff like that. So I'd heard a little bit of the behind the scenes. So it's unfortunate to hear, but hopefully we'll start to see a few more sustainable models pop up with teams in the future. And like Frank said, hopefully that involves some sponsor money too, and it's not just coming out of the pockets of people who want it as a passion project.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of obviously, I'm pretty good friends with Mark, so yeah, I kind of knew a little bit of what was going on like leading up to yesterday, but yeah, I feel really obviously bad about the players, and on top of the players, the staff too, right? I mean, there's definitely a lot of staff members too that were, they're doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes that probably a lot of people didn't realize too, and obviously they're kind of out of a job too. But hopefully all those folks will land in good places. I mean, I'm sure, a lot of the good players, I'm sure, will be fine. But yeah, so I mean, what do you guys think is the difference between like Quantic? Obviously Mark's been on here talking about really, the cautionary tales of owning a team, and Frank, obviously you've been a team owner before in the past too.
Yeah.
So like, what do you think the difference is between like, Quantic was one of the big NA teams, right? So comparing, let's just say, the successful one, which is Evil Geniuses versus Quantic. I mean, why is Evil Geniuses succeeding and Quantic not?
Well, thinking about it this way, 6 years ago, Evil Geniuses was, and this might be a bit harsh, but I'm going to go with it because in comparison to the others, it was kind of a nothing organization. Comparing Evil Geniuses' complexity 6 or 7 years ago, I mean, Evil Geniuses was super small back then. And they just kind of steadily grew over time. And I feel like in Quantic, they really just wanted to, go from small to big in a year. And I think it was a little too ambitious. I really think you need some kind of... There has to be a stepping process to get up to where EG is now. EG now, I mean, they've got multiple 6-figure sponsorships. Like, that's not something that Quantic has. That's not something that almost any organization has at all. It's not something that almost any organization ever has had. Evil Geniuses is in a financial spot that almost no team has ever been in esports history. But they got there by a lot of hard work by Alex Garfield, by Scott Smith, selling their product really, really well.
Well, yeah.
And, go ahead, Kevin.
Oh no, I was just to build on to that as well. Like, EG has kind of had the perfect mix of strong players where they're competitive, but also personalities, and they can build such a brand around so many of their players. InControl doesn't have to be competing at in every major tournament or anything like that because he is a good caster, because he has a lot of different attributes on the side. Same can be said for a number of their players that have built themselves into successful streamers on top of being successful players. And that's kind of a mix that a lot of teams don't have at the moment, if we're specifically talking about StarCraft 2, and it's something they've done exceptionally well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's obviously one of the huge things about Evil Geniuses. And your comment about, I guess, Evil Geniuses kind of over time building that up, Frank. I kind of want to talk to you about that because Quantic, from an infrastructure standpoint, I felt like they did a lot of good things. Like, I feel like some of the media stuff that they built up, I mean, like the channel, the program, like just the program they have for producers and that sort of thing. I feel like a lot of that stuff is sound and really good. And the biggest thing for them was the players. The players, like, if you compare the differences between Evil Geniuses players, yeah, I mean, it's like night and day. Whether they're able to market, sponsors, or they're just producing results or whatever. Is that the main thing? I mean, like, you were talking about over time and building up. I mean, is it really, like, if Quantic had Evil Geniuses players right now, would they succeed? Like, would they be able to get sponsors like left and right just like that, or does it have to be I mean, do sponsors only flock to where other sponsors are going?
Yes and no. There is kind of a bandwagon mentality with sponsors a lot of time, where they go where things are, successful. It's hard to say. In the teams I had, you really have to get lucky. You're never going to have money at the beginning. You have to have good players, and you have to have your good players stick around for long enough that you can try to sustain something. It's it's really hard to get a roster like Evil Geniuses. I mean, take a look at the beginning of StarCraft 2. Their lineup was what? In Control, LZ Gamer, Louder. I mean, none of the players that you now think of as being in control, of EG standouts were there except for Idra. All the other players, the lead players, Huck was on VT and then Millennium, and then all the Korean players were obviously on Korean teams, and Stefano was on Millennium back then, and he wasn't nearly what we thought he would become. So, they added the pieces on. If Quantic had what EG had now, would they be successful overnight? Probably not. EG has a very, very good way of marketing their players. And I don't know exactly. I mean, you see, like, the documentary that they came out, what was that, about one of the last MLG events? That was amazing. And you don't really see that from a lot of other teams. So it's not just necessarily having good players. There's a lot more to it than just having the best players. And we've had teams with really, really good players go under, and it won't be the last time that it happens.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's also about the visibility of your brand, right? So, I mean, if you can guarantee that a team is going to put you in front of X number of million faces, no matter what as long as it's hitting your key demographics, yes, then you're always going to find some sort of success in sponsoring. And sometimes you can have a lot of very good players, don't necessarily have a lot of recognition. Let's look at a team like TSL, for example, in Korea. They don't have a lot of exposure in international events. They have players that are obviously doing really great, don't get me wrong, but they have a lot of fairly low-key sponsors. I mean, Handsome Nerd is one of their marquee sponsors and things like that. So, and we're not exactly talking about a multi-billion-dollar organization that's actually helping them out. So you've got to be able to strike that balance between just visibility of your players and them just being good. Yes, the sponsor is going to want you to win a tournament, but they're going to want to put their brand in front of millions of people first and foremost.
Right. So what do you think is the future of teams in North America? I mean, we're getting slim now, guys. I mean, we're down to like Evil Geniuses, like Complexity, like smaller teams like It's Gosu and Infinity 7, right? I mean, is Team Liquid considered? I mean, Team Liquid's more of a, I mean, it's based out of Europe, right? So
yeah,
it's not even really an NA team. So
it's not looking good right now. Definitely not looking good right now. All the ones that were based from Counter-Strike 1.6, they're almost all gone. Complexity is pretty much the only one left from that era, and Evil Geniuses.
Well, here's another thing, too. Quick, name the top 3 North American StarCraft 2 players. Who would you say? Probably number 1, I think we could probably be in
Scarlet.
Probably Scarlet, right? Who plays for a European team. I mean, there's not a lot of North American teams that are necessarily fostering new North American growth. I think the latest example of one that's actually happened that way, you could talk about the Root startup once again and things like that, but then you have someone like Vibe who's playing for Root now. Maybe Evil Genius is taking on Suppy. I think that was the last notable North American team who picked up a North American player. Yeah,
it does not happen very much anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a chicken and egg thing. I mean, if there's not many teams to pick up players, then of course they're going to get sniped by other teams, right?
So, like, here's my biggest example. Scarlet won an amateur tournament to get an IPL 4, makes a splash, and then becomes the best player in North America.
I know.
It is possible if you're a good player. So when players say, well, we don't have the support. Scarlet had no support. Zero. No support at all. Came in, was the biggest story of IPL 4, and is now like the consensus best player in North America, and one of the only players that can actually take down Koreans among foreign players. She is one of 6 foreign players that cashed at IPL 5. 6.
I want to mention that Scarlet has had the worst computer at home too for the longest time. She's had the crappiest rig at home, yet she's gotten to where she's gotten. So it's pretty amazing. But Scarlet is not. I mean, Scarlet's like 1 in 1,000, 2,000 or something like that. It doesn't happen very often. But I agree. There's a lot of talent there's a lot of young talent still in North America that just hasn't been fostered or hasn't really taken that next step because it's still it's still fairly casual, right?
Yeah, to a certain extent. I remember when I was in Rain, I was scouting State and Illusion for a long time, and I feel like they have underperformed compared to what they could be. Like, I actually feel that Illusion has stayed stagnant. He hasn't gotten much better. And State's actually gotten worse, which is scary, because they looked like they could be the next best thing. And Suppy kind of jumped over both of them. And, Suppy was always about that same level, but I always thought looking at State's play, he was going to explode. And it just hasn't happened. I haven't seen him do much of anything in the past 6 months or so, and it's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, but how much of it is? I mean, are you blaming Quantic or are you blaming him? I mean,
I don't
because
know their situation enough to blame anyone. But something definitely went wrong there because I think most people, most general managers, most coaches looked at those two players and thought that they could be as good as Scarlett is right now by this time, and it didn't happen. So I think when you're talking about like North American talent, like those three, Suppy, Illusion, and State, were kind of who we were like hanging our hats on for who's going to actually be that next generation of North American players. And Suppy's the only one that's really panned out. I mean, Illusion still, he's still really young. He could still, but it's been a while since they've done a lot of things that have been notable like they were when people, had all this potential set out for them. And then, of course,
Yeah.
Scarlett just kind of jumped over everyone.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, sorry, Kevin. I just want to make a quick statement, just that Mike makes a good point. I mean, Suppy plays Zerg right now. I mean, and State and Illusion play Terran and Protoss, which has obviously been a little bit rougher like recently. You think that plays any part in it? A lot of Zergs have been having success, right? I mean, that's just...
Well, yeah, I mean, Zergs do have a lot of success right now, don't get me wrong, and we can talk about the patch that came out and stuff like that here in a bit too, but I mean, we still do see players breaking through. I mean, it all depends. I think Edibisi made a joke. He just said that white people can't play Terran and Protoss right now, but clearly Korean players, Protoss players, are doing very well at the moment. Parting Creator did take 1-2 over at Blizzard World Championship, so there is certainly still some hope for the other races. But I mean, so I don't necessarily want to chalk it up to circumstances that are outside of their control. One thing I do want to point out, though, that T-Pod had actually put in chat, and I think is actually a very good point. There's a major market difference right now between U.S. and European teams in that it seems like European teams are very good about staying small over the right time, making sure that they have a decent amount of players. They're slowly building their organization, and a lot of North American teams and organizations have kind of made the mistake of, all right, we're going to jump in right now. We're going to have the biggest and best StarCraft lineup ever. Yeah. We're going to add on multiple games, and we're just going to hope that the sponsors will come after that.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. Hey, welcome, John.
Welcome.
Glad of you. Nice of you to make it, man.
Yeah. Well, sorry. I was a little late.
We were just kind of talking about, just kind of finishing up the discussion about Quantic and just, kind of comparing, I guess, Quantic with other North American teams and really what the future is for North American teams. And yeah, I mean, I think. Yeah, the European team seems to be a lot different, and I think the European teams seem to be scaling a little bit slower, I guess, than some of the North American teams, which seems to have been, the right decision for them because teams like Western Wolves and like newer teams like Western Wolves and even Acer to some extent at this point, and I mean they seem to be picking up the right players and producing the right good results, like Sting obviously winning over at Singapore, right, and then. Obviously, Scarlett and Nurchio just doing so well for Acer. I mean, they seem to be producing results, which is always nice.
I actually want to point to one case, Mouse, who for a while was pretty much one of the most premier foreign teams, but they lost Morrow, they lost Thorzane, but they've been kind of slowly rebuilding, and I'm pretty sure in a few months now that they're going to be back to about where they were. They've just kind of, they've been around for a really, really long time, longer than EG has, I'm pretty sure. And, sometimes you have to take a step back for a while and you're not always going to be in the spotlight. Mm-hmm. But you can't just, try to jump the gun, spend a ton of money, have the best players, and then just assume that's going to get you back to where you were. Sometimes you just kind of have to be in the shadows for a while. And it's about 5 months now that they really haven't been, in the spotlight like they were. But they'll be back eventually. They're a really good organization and good sponsors that haven't bailed, despite the fact that they haven't had a huge presence in StarCraft 2 other than Mana. So, I mean, Acer has really done it the right way. Western Wolves, like you said, really doing things the right way. That's kind of the model when I was talking about, instead of jumping to the top. Western Wolves very, very slowly gotten a few good players, starting to build up, and now they can actually try to take that next step.
Yeah, John, since you obviously just came in, what's your kind of take on the whole Quantic thing? We'll kind of get your opinion on it.
I was going to ask Frank, I mean, what do you think it takes for a team to be noticed? Is it simply winning and getting results and having some sort of player that everyone looks to, or is there more to it?
Winning has to come first. No matter what else you do, if it's a bad player or a player that people don't care about, then I mean, with very, very, very few exceptions, it has to come from winning first. And once you have winning, then you can add lots of other creative marketing ideas on top of that. But, other than maybe Destiny and Maximus Black and a few other people like that, it doesn't really matter what you do if you're not winning. People stop caring about you.
Right, right. But, I mean, the other example could be that, EG has some players that haven't won for quite some time, and admittedly they do things much differently. Is that still a possibility for some teams? And if so, I mean, what does it take?
Well, I mean, sure it is, but then you're talking about the difference. So you take two people that haven't really won in a while. Take In Control, who is still, in the spotlight, but he's in commercials, he does casting, and then you take someone like LZ Gamer. Not a lot of people talk about LZ Gamer anymore, but he's still on EG's roster, and he's still there, and he's still a part of what they do. So it depends on a lot of things. It depends a lot on the marketing, depends on what else they're doing other than playing. And, while both of them still say they're a player first, I think Jeff has really transitioned more into the non-player role than LZ has over time.
So what about a team like, Kevin, you mentioned like the startup team Root. What about Root? I mean, because Root, outside of Vibe, producing some results, obviously at WCS US and getting to represent the US and everything, which was great. They're consisted purely of, they're a team that the culture is friendship, and it's based more on, I would say, personalities too. People that are just popular streamers, and people who have been in the NA scene for 2 years now, right? And are still, still known or still have a pretty loyal fan base. I mean, is that a good formula, or is that an alternate formula?
Well, I suppose it depends on what kind of desired effect you want your team to have. I think Root has done a magnificent job at fostering new talent recently, too, which is something a lot of other organizations haven't necessarily taken the time to accomplish. So they've got up-and-coming players. Hopefully, it's not going to be a situation where they're used as a stepping stone into bigger teams. Oh, can you not hear me anymore?
I can hear him. Hello?
I can hear him.
Oh, okay.
Hold on a second. Sorry, I think I lost you for a second. There you go.
Stand by, everyone. Chris will be back.
Sorry about that.
No, so I hope it's Root is going to be a situation where they attract enough sponsors eventually with up and coming talent that this isn't used as a stepping stone for their players again, because we saw a lot of players that would go to Root and then boom, they would bounce off to another larger organization. So hopefully it's a little bit better situation for them this time. I think they are being very ambitious, diving into Dota at the same time while they're resurrecting their StarCraft team, but I certainly wish the best for them. So.
Well, okay. Well, hopefully, again, like I would hate to see, obviously all I ever hear is like it's inevitable that more teams are going to be, we'll see more teams probably fold the next year, just because, I don't know, some people are saying there's just too many teams still, even at this point. So we'll kind of see what happens. And why don't we talk just really briefly about the EGTL partnership for Pro League? What do you guys have to say? I mean, what do you guys think of that?
I think it's awesome. I heard from some people that the deal wasn't actually done until IPL 5. And I'd actually heard from a lot of people that EG was, going to join Pro League and maybe even join Kespa. But I had heard nothing about Liquid, so that part surprised me quite a bit. And they were talking about this on some other shows also, but it's not really the prize money or the competition that's necessarily that big, but the prestige of being in Pro League. It's been around for at least like 7-8 years now, and all that comes with that is something really, really special. And I think that's a huge step in having Kespa interact with the Western world, because for years, this would have never happened in Brood War ever. And the fact that it already is happening in pretty much the first StarCraft 2 season for Pro League is pretty astonishing to me.
Yeah, Kevin, what do you think?
I guess just to build on it, I'm really happy to see the two organizations working together like that. I got the chance to speak to Cody about it, Voli, the EG's manager, over the weekend, and they were just ecstatic. So I think it's going to do well to build both brands. I think it's going to do well to advance a good portion of the foreign scene. Even if the rosters are dominated by Korean players and we only see a couple foreigners here and there, it's still going to be good for the image, and hopefully it'll convince a couple other teams to maybe pick up some big foreigner acquisitions. I'm certainly looking forward to the results.
Yeah, let's talk about, I guess, the necessity of the alliance, because From my take of it, I mean, I see more of an investment from EG's standpoint, because it's their house, right? Or their, just call it a house. I mean, it's probably just a flat or something. I don't know exactly how you would classify it, but their house over there, that all the players will be staying out. I think that's EG's, right? That's not TL. I think TL is only providing like roster, just players, right? In this alliance. I mean, do you think the alliance was necessary purely from just being competitive? And taking on guys like Tasia in addition to the EG Tasia and Hero and I don't know, maybe Zenyo, those guys, kind of bringing them on the EG roster to be competitive in Pro League, or do you think it was something else? I mean, I don't really see.
Well, there's a lot of things it could be. So the first thing is it's really cool to have, basically, you think of the 2 premier foreign organizations joining to play in Pro League. That's just kind of cool by itself. And I have to think that at some level, Victor and Scott and Alex were just like, let's just do this because it's cool. Like, that had to be some part of it.
Right.
The other part is that when they're in it, they don't want to just finish last and be bounced out, because that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a lack of confidence in their own players, but I just think part of it had to be we could actually legitimately win the thing if they combine rosters. That's probably part of it. And for the rest of it, I don't really know. You'd have to ask individually if there's something financial going on in the background too, or exactly what's at work. But I think those were at least some of the factors that went into it.
Yeah, I mean, just the. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I just was going to say I would love to have been a fly on the wall when those conversations were happening between the two teams, in deciding, to even go forward with this, in the first place. I'd be curious to see who proposed the idea first.
Yeah, and I certainly think it's going to provide a lot of additional benefits too. I mean, we talk about right now their rosters are split, and we're talking about both teams. Both teams have people living abroad. Both teams have people that are living in Korea. And just being able to consolidate most of their forces in one spot is certainly going to improve both of their squads and quality of practice partners, accessibility to each other's teammates, strategies, things like that. I only see it as a benefit for everyone involved.
For them, I mean, could you see that maybe by them pushing over to the Pro League, which I think is a great thing for both teams to be a part of, but do you think that it could hurt what's happening here in North America? I mean, I'm just curious. I'm just asking. I don't really have an opinion on that yet, but do you think there's a possibility that by them going in that direction, it either opens the door for new teams to pop up here in North America, or does it hurt what's happening here in North America? I mean, the team structure is already hurting, but could it hurt some more?
Yeah, I think it certainly has the potential to. It just depends on how it's managed. I mean, if it's used as a stepping stone where up-and-coming players can chip over there, they can be immersed in the competitive environment, they can find this as a training ground for themselves, then it will only help. However, if it's used, and I'm not saying that they are doing this, but if it's managed in such a way that, well, we're just going to take our top 3 or 4 players from each team, they're going to live together, and it's kind of shut out to everyone else, then it will absolutely hurt the North American scene, because then you don't have that platform for upcoming players to actually start to establish themselves, and that could be pretty bad.
Okay. I think it would be hard to hurt the North American scene any more than it is right now, but if such a thing were possible, it could happen. However, I have faith enough in EG and Liquid to not ruin the North American and European scenes with this. I think it'll be okay.
So how do you think this? How do you think? I mean, this obviously is going to be going to heighten kind of the competition between OGN and GSL, right? So I remember I was talking to, who was I talking to? I was talking to somebody last night about I was talking to somebody about just kind of, I guess, what TL.net's going to be doing in terms of like featuring GSL or OGN. Like, what do you think? How do you think that's going to be now that they're participating in Pro League?
I'll let you go first on that one, Kevin.
I kind of need to think about that for a second. So, go ahead, Frank.
I think the whole, and I've now dealt with this firsthand, the Kespa OGN GOM dynamic is extremely complicated.
That's
and
an understatement.
I don't know what is actual true dislike, what's just competitive rivalry, or what's just, jovial, but like the general the perception of Kespa in the West is that Kespa is the devil, the evil cartel that wants to rule the world and have all the money themselves. I don't know exactly what Kespa's doing or exactly what Kespa is, but everyone would like to work with Kespa because everyone wants the best for Kespa's players. I don't know if the teams that are in Pro League are one day going to try to play in the GSTL. I don't know if the GSTL teams want to play in Pro League. I don't know if those conversations have taken place. I would hope so. I'm obviously not involved in that. But that dynamic, it looks like there is no resolution anytime soon. And I hope there is, because I just want to see all the players play in whatever they want to. Like, in the end, that is all I want. I want the Kespa players, if they want to play in IEM or DreamHack or IPL, that they can do so. I want it so that the GSTL team can play in Pro League if they manage to get in or are able to do so. I think that's best for everyone. Will it ever get to that point? I honestly have no idea, and a lot of it is up to Kespa, and honestly, it's up to Blizzard, because Blizzard has the last word on all of this.
So I will say this: if I'll speak about it from our perspective and what we're seeing and stuff like that, because IGN is still relatively new to the esports scene. Even though we've been around for a couple of years now, we're still there against entities that in Korea have been around for over a decade. People that even in the United States that have been around for 8 or 9 years. So from us, from an outsider's perspective, we're kind of jumping in, and we want to be good guys. We want to work with everyone. We'd love for it if everyone sat down and was like, gee whiz, we're going to promote esports and it's going to be awesome, and let's just work together to make the biggest, coolest events. The reality is, though, is that there are some deep-seated rivalries, is I guess the most political way to put it, with different overseas organizations and things like that. Especially in Korea, it's been pretty well publicized. So that's difficult to navigate, but we certainly want to take the approach to where we just sit back and we work with anyone who is willing to just help promote esports, because that's what ultimately we're all here for.
Well, that's how we see it.
Yeah.
You're right. That may not be at all how they see it. I mean, it's for them, it's competition more so than anything, because it's esports is already rooted in what they do in that country. But here, we still have a long ways to grow, a long ways to go to grow esports as a whole. And I think we're a lot more willing to work together here, which I still think there's room for a lot more of that. Than over there. Obviously, it's a lot about competition. Who's going to put out the better product for sure?
You guys worked really closely, obviously, with GOM this past weekend, and obviously for months, probably leading up to this weekend. There's always been this kind of perception that, actually some of it has been, I think, truth, at least in the past, that, the organizations over in Korea they don't really have I guess the foreign audience isn't really a big priority for them. How much of a misconception, or is that a misconception?
From working with GOM this past weekend, they love the foreign audience, and I talked to Mr. Che so much over the weekend. He's an even better guy than people think he is. No, they definitely appreciate the foreign audience at GSL, like 100%. And that was made abundantly clear. There was actually an instance where we paused the game because Twitch stream went down, but the Korean stream was still up. And, if GOM didn't care about the foreign audience, they could have just said, no, we're just going to keep going with the game, and then, it's Twitch's problem to fix the Twitch stream or whatever. But they didn't. They understand how important it is for the foreign audience to consume StarCraft. It's definitely not the days of Brood War 6-7 years ago where, Korea was everything and the foreign audience was nothing. I think even Kespa has a pretty big appreciation for the Western audience.
That's okay. I mean, obviously that's really good to hear, given that we're over here, and I'd hate for us to be left behind in a way, even if the industry just continually grows over there, at a much faster rate than over here.
And one thing too that I want to mention as well is that Kespa's obviously got involved with StarCraft 2 recently, and I don't want to say GOM's taken a back seat necessarily, but obviously a lot of the headlines have been given to Kespa things, and I really think this past weekend was very good for the image of GOM as well. They produced an amazing event.
Oh, yeah.
It was just fantastic. They got accolades pretty much unanimously from the community for what they had done, even to the point where just a picture of them put on the internet received something like 1,700, 1,800 upvotes on Reddit. I mean, That's fantastic. So I really hope that this gives them the shot in the arm that they need to start really rallying back and taking some of those headlines for themselves.
Yeah, I need to give a huge shout out to the GOMS crew. They did, it was honestly the best production I have ever seen. It was the best show they put on. I had no problems. I was incredibly worried about the language barrier going into this event, and to the point where I had 8 translators at the event, and it went flawlessly. Like, I'm not even exaggerating, there were literally no problems between GOM and the operations staff at IPL. It was a flawless event in that regard. Never had any issue the whole time. GOM was just unbelievably amazing.
When you sat back and you had a chance to watch the way that they were doing things, knowing that you guys have ran live events before, and what can go wrong will at live events, and just sitting back and looking at it and going, now that is a fine-oiled machine. These guys really know what they're doing. I mean, that had to be pretty cool to see and give you guys, motivation to say, this is something that we can continue to do, and eventually, hopefully sooner rather than later, we're going to get to that point as well.
It hit me when, after the opening ceremony and through the first few matches, when they had the player intro screen, and then the map intro screen, and then Legend and Heaven's, observing, I was like, there is no one that is close to this right now. It actually awed me.
But the thing is, Frank, those are things that we could have been doing a while ago or should be doing.
Yes.
And hopefully by seeing this is something where people say, those are standards that can be met. I mean, these are things that we can do that don't. It's not like it requires a huge amount of money. It just requires somebody taking the chance and doing it. And I hope that we see that moving forward. I mean, it's not that MLG and DreamHack and the other organizations here haven't tried new things, but seeing it kind of all put together and how it can look when it's ran like that, I think is a good thing for us.
And I just wanted to say that selfishly, Frank, with what you were talking about, being able to sit in the casting chair, and I'm like, he is, and then the Korean guy comes up with Knocke. Like, that to me was a ridiculously awesome moment. So big shout outs again. I just want to echo what Frank said. It was amazing working with the crew, and to say what John was saying. Yes, people have been trying improvements. We tried to throw in a lot of new things, live voting on the matches, stuff like that, to actually encourage more user participation. But it was really cool to see that all of our ideas came together. Not one of them was dropped. Everything was executed pretty darn well. We have some minor, quibbles here and there of things we want to fix and we want to improve, but otherwise, we're very happy.
Yeah, Frank, why don't you obviously talked, about just having almost zero issues. Talk to me about the little things. Like, what are the little things about GOM's production team that really stood out to you? Maybe you learned from, and you'll definitely be continuing to do, or having y'all's production team continually do moving forward.
Most of the work they put in was before the event. They were working, I don't know if this was an exaggeration, but Mr. Chase said their production team worked 100 hours the week before the event. Like, they were every single, and I didn't know this, but he explained all those 72 players where, the red circle stopped over the person's name, those were each individual videos. Like, there wasn't something overlaid that they tracked that they interlaced in live. That was all pre-done. They did every single one of those individually, and all the maps, they did all of those individually. And it was just, you need a crew large enough, have a really good plan on what to do before the event, and then you have to work really, really hard, because a lot of this time you can't know all this information until right before the event. Like, you don't know exactly who's going until pretty soon before. And GOM was even letting us make changes to the lineup within like 5-6 days before the event. So you need a lot of people that are really dedicated, going to work long hours, and very, very skilled motion graphic artists, etc., in order to pull something like that off. That was the biggest thing. Communication is the other thing that we all kind of learned throughout this whole experience, is that communication between operations and production and events and everyone is what made it so successful.
Well, the good thing is this will open up the door, hopefully, as more organizations realize all of the people that they need to bring on board for animations and graphics and everything. So those that are sitting out here watching this now, there's some people out there, I'm sure, that can do a lot of these things and have just been looking for an avenue or a way in which to get involved. And with IPL seeing, everything that was that it took to make this happen, and knowing, hey, we don't have all of those resources, hopefully there will be some people out here that will have opportunities to get involved more in esports and get paid for doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's funny because when we had David on here like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he told us about just obviously all the stuff that was going to be at IPL 5, and even GSL being at IPL 5, it didn't dawn on me that actually Gom's production team was coming. So I actually thought it was going to be you guys, doing it the whole time. Was Gom's production team, obviously working the event a requirement to them having GSL finals there, or was that already predetermined even before all that?
No, we've done different levels of partnerships with them, and we had sat down and considered things like that. It was more of a situation where they wanted to do it, and we wanted them to do it. Not that it was going to mandate or dictate what content was presented that weekend. We basically, and the coolest part too was that they were completely autonomous too. We set up the stage and everything, looked at them and said, "You guys are doing production. Have fun. You have no direction. Just do whatever you think will do to make it the best." And I think what we saw over the weekend ended up being essentially, what if GOM had run a 4-day tournament? What would a 4-day GSL look like? And that's essentially what happened.
Yeah, it was kind of a situation where, we've been running live events for a while now. I won't, obviously not as long as some other organizations, but I think we've run the tournament pretty well. And it was the situation where, GOM isn't necessarily set up to run a 72-man tournament. Maybe they will be able to do that if they wanted to, but that's not really their specialty. They run the GSL. The GSL is what they're used to. So we're like, okay, well, we'll run the tournament. You guys just do what you do to make it look awesome. And, it was basically like, I didn't want to touch it. I was like, whatever they want to do is cool. We threw in a few ideas on how to change a few ceremonies and that type of thing, and little things here or there that we thought would improve the stream. But for the most part, we just kind of let them do their thing. And if they had questions for us, we'd give them the answers. We had questions for them, they'd give us the answers. But no one really dictated things that had to happen. I think that's one of the things that made it a lot better than most of the other events out there.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gotten a chance to really just lead into this, but this is awesome that we just kind of segmented straight to IPL 5. But I kind of want to let you guys know that I watched a ton of IPL 5, the 4 days. I mean, it was crazy.
I didn't talk to him at all for those days.
I had a crazy schedule too. So I was, for instance, on Sunday, I was sitting there getting a Christmas tree while watching the semis or something on my phone and getting tree sap all over my iPhone and stuff. So I probably watched about 25 hours of it, maybe more. I'm not even sure. Something
so you watched more than me.
Yeah, yeah. But I have to say it was the best event for me, I think, this year. And even though I wish some of the storylines would have played out for you guys, I wish Hyun would have won for you guys, and I wish a lot of those things would have just played out for you guys. But I think given the things that you could control, y'all did y'all did the most amazing job. And one of the things in particular for me that I remember just having this realization while I was watching is, and I told John this, is that y'all did a really good job of partitioning all the sub events. Y'all's tournament, IPL 5 tournament, and then the GSL semis and finals, and then the World Championships. Y'all did a great job of just having having them on separate days at separate times so that the entire viewership can focus on each individual part. And
what's funny, Chris, is that some people complained about that, but I agree with you. I think
that made it a huge. That was huge for me.
But it's important that a schedule of those events and a schedule of that information is put out. I mean, it's not like that hasn't necessarily been done before, but we've seen it done without any schedule. And so people are all over the place, what's going on now? But the way that you guys did it, and how clean the schedule was, and you guys were actually ahead of schedule at some times, that was really nice to see. Just a really solid coordination between those efforts.
Yeah, so just to give you a little background on how that went in, basically went to GOM, and we had an idea on when we wanted GSL to be, and they had a very, very similar idea, and it was basically they wanted to spread them out pretty far, and we had it done months and months in advance, which was awesome. And we were getting questions, how is this all going to fit in the same weekend? And when we looked at it on paper, we were like, well, this actually looks like it's all going to fit. And like you said, and this is the first time I think we were on the main stream, we were 45 minutes ahead of schedule sometimes. We were actually having to add in breaks in order so that we wouldn't get too far ahead of schedule because we didn't want people to miss matches. So
That's a
like,
good
we
problem
were,
to have, though, Frank.
yeah, that's a really, really
Exactly.
good problem to have. We were like, I think it was like 1:15 once. We're like, well, the next match isn't supposed to be 2, so we started at like 1:40, just so that we wouldn't get, we didn't want to have too much dead time, and we didn't want to, wait, we didn't want to start it too early so people would miss something. So it was, the planning worked out great between Gom and us. We really actually had it down, and I don't know if we're ever going to have another, event where we were ahead of schedule for 3 out of the 4 days, but I really hope so because it worked out really well that time.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching when you guys had the GSL semis and finals, and I was like, oh my god, I'm just I'm looking at my watch and I'm like, it's only like 8 p.m. here, and it's not like 4 a.m. But I feel like I'm watching, I feel like I'm watching the GSL finals from the GOM studio. So it was, it's pretty amazing in that standpoint. And obviously that was all StarCraft, and the great thing about obviously the DVR feature that you guys provided was I was able to catch even some of the LoL tournament, like that World Elite, CLG, EU. Oh my God, that series, the second game in that series. I mean, that was an amazing series. I'm not sure if you guys got a chance to catch that.
No,
That was an
I'm gonna
amazing
catch up
game.
on the LoL VODs. That's
Yeah.
my mission for this next weekend.
But yeah, so that was obviously amazing. So Kevin, one thing too is that the casters, right? You guys had a lot of casters at the event, and talking about just the the more well-known casters. I felt like the schedule for the casters was pretty easy, like compared to other events. And
Yeah.
how did that go? Like, I mean, did the casters seem to really appreciate that, or not appreciate?
Yeah, the
that?
only the only complaint that we got was that their blocks, the blocks themselves were good. They wish they had more. Obviously, it was a weird schedule for us because we were trying to run 3 concurrent streams, and because you're running 3 streams, especially. Most of the reason that we had so many casters was because of Thursday. If we had cut down to just 8 casters across 3 streams, people would have been running 6-7 hour shifts, something like that. So it necessitated us bringing on a few additional casters on top of just the normal like super big name ones that you always hear at each event. So we liked it, although of course with the amount of GOM content towards the end, we were all kind of like, oh okay, wish I could be casting a little bit more, I suppose.
Right. And the caster tournament, I mean the caster contest. Did you head up that by chance, or I didn't actually know who was actually running it? Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Robin ended up winning, and Robin's amazing. So congrats to him for landing a job with you guys now, right?
Yeah, it was really cool just to like, I don't know, I felt very American Idol during it too, because like I pull Robin aside and we bring him into the sponsor room and I'm like, hey, we need to talk to you for a second. HR needs to chat with you, and congratulations, you've gotten the job. And he was, oh my God, I can't believe it. So it ended up being great. All of the contestants that we had were just amazing. It was a seriously tough decision in the top 4. I mean, they were just absurd levels of casters, and some of the guys there are just ridiculous. I mean, Nathanias, for example, really stood out to me. He's only 19 years old, and yet he was an expert. I mean, he's obviously a top-level player. He's got, wonderful diction, enunciation, and I think he has a bright future in casting. So everyone who was there in our top 4, really hope they stick with it because they could be big-name casters very soon.
Talk to us a little bit how the top 4 was chosen, because obviously me and John definitely know a lot of these casters that were entered in the contest, and there's some talk of politics and maybe some favoritism. So I just want to kind of get a sense as to what the process was choosing. Was it just like a small committee that chose, or was it something else?
Yeah, there was a committee of about 5 of us here at the office that reviewed every video, every single submission we got. We went over every one. We did a ranking objectively of what we thought, and then that played the largest decision in who actually went on and stuff like that. As far as politics and stuff like that, I'm not sure what would have been out there because, and I'd be curious to see what you're referring to, because on our end, there was nothing that influenced our decision one way or another. It was purely who we thought was the best caster in each round. We even going into after the first round, we had a couple of casters who we basically rated out of 10 and then evaluated from there. We had a couple of casters who were right up at the top who in subsequent rounds actually, I don't want to say let us down a little bit, but ended up getting knocked off their perch, and other people stepped in who had really, really stepped up their game.
I think what Chris may have been alluding to, and I don't know, I haven't read anything specific to what you guys did, but in general, there has been the belief that a lot of times in other organizations, politics and favoritism and who you know do play a large role in the opportunity that you might get to cast. It's great to see that you guys set something up like that. And I don't think no matter how well you did it, if it was all based on some sort of mathematical algorithm, people are always going to, assume that there was some sort of biased attention given or decisions were made out of favoritism. But I think what you guys did was excellent in that case.
Yeah, I'll actually build on that just a little bit too. And this is going to get a little personal for a second too. When I started with IPL, I was nobody. And I don't even want to say I'm or whatever, but at the time they took a chance on me. They took a chance on someone who was pretty unknown. I'd like to think that I stepped in, did pretty well in the role, that I fill other responsibilities here within the organization. And so to me, it's always my mission to pay that back. Like, I don't want to say that I discredit big name people that would apply or anything along those lines, but I'm especially proud of the fact that we don't have any favoritism. We let new faces into the scene, and it's not just an old boys club here, because that's how we're really going to break the molds. I don't want to call out specific people or anything like that, but there is a mentality among some people that this should still be an old boys club. We should only be catering to the specific hardcore audience that's been here for a few years, and I think we need to look past that if we really want to try and grow the scene. So hopefully that carries over into our search for the caster as well.
And I actually wanted to just say, our last hire, Kibbles was a Playham caster, and while he was a very liked Playham caster, he was still primarily just Playham caster. And he has done an amazing job. He has exceeded everyone's expectations, including our own. And he was amazing at the event. He's been amazing in office. So it's not just big-name people or, people that are just our friends that we're going to hire. That's not at all what we do here.
Good.
And I think that people should see, I had never met Robin before the event. I don't know if a lot of other people really knew him. But honestly, he was the best one. And, Kevin and I knew it, when we were going over it at the event. He was the best one. It had nothing to do with that. I hadn't even met him yet when we made the decision to hire him.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I don't necessarily feel bad. I was just kind of hearing it from some other folks, and I felt like I should, ask you guys that question. Whatever people say, I mean, you guys having this opportunity for somebody is amazing. Giving somebody a chance, like you said, like your story there, Kevin. I mean, I think just getting the opportunity is something that a lot of these folks are very thankful of. So hopefully you guys will continue it, and maybe some other organizations will too. Because those top dogs, I mean, they're going to get, they're still going to get all the jobs, like all the great events and stuff like that. So it's just nice, just to I guess share the wealth a little bit, at least with some of the up and coming casters, right? But so what were y'all's favorite moments, I guess, in the event?
I guess I'll go first. So the first one was, we kind of had this idea for a while, was Hyun in the robe and the boxing gloves and just kind of celebrating his 14 weeks of Fight Club. Because that run, I mean, just think about this. The guy won a best of 9 against some of the best players in the world every single week for over 3 months. And he never even got a 5-4 until he played the reigning Codes champion. That is such an incredible feat. I don't know if there can be anything that could be described as matching that in all of StarCraft 2, for the history of StarCraft 2. To me, that is an unbelievable run. So the fact that he got to celebrate that live and in that way and in a way that he wanted to, I just thought that was really cool. That was early on in the weekend, but he was so happy. The entire TSL team had a really, really good time at IPL 5. That was really special, was the team enjoying that moment, and then him enjoying the Codes, and he felt like he was at home at an IPL event. That was just really cool to me. Hyun's whole story through IPL and how he was known as this online player who had nerve issues that couldn't win anything, and he's just kind of made himself a player through IPL. I know he always thanks me, he thanks Kevin, he thanks the whole staff for everything, giving him the chance, and it's like he's just an amazing guy. To me, that was probably the most special moment of the whole event.
For me, there were 2 moments that stood out. One I'll actually talk about because it's kind of the aftermath as we're starting to get in some numbers and stuff like that. I can't disclose those all, but definitely.
I was going to ask you that next, man.
Oh, no. I have a few for you. I have some teasers while we... while we get into it, basically it blew away every expectation we could have possibly set out for this event. But at the actual event itself, I just took personal pleasure in watching Stefano beat 4 GSL Code S champions in a row in all kill formats before finally falling to Squirtle. It actually was the runner-up that ended up knocking him out, which I think is kind of funny. But just seeing Stefano go through that was fantastic.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you there too, Kevin. I think there were 2 moments in the tournament, and the first one being Scarlet beating DRG. Partly because, I mean, for those of you who know me, like I know Scarlet, and I'm a huge supporter of Scarlet. I have been since like February or March or something like that, and her losing to DRG, I know she was really disappointed and really upset about that because she feels like she's better than DRG, at least in DVG. So her coming back and beating them in the the actual world champion, I felt like that was really cool. And and again, it's like a foreigner that's actually beating Koreans. I mean, those are moments I feel like for us in the community to actually feel good about, like get excited about, like don't. It bothers me so much when I read in Reddit sometimes when like our foreigner beats a Korean and there's some kind of excuse that they make for a Korean. Like when Scarlet beat Ryung is because Ryung was saving up his strategies for the GSL semis or whatever. I mean, that's just lame. I mean, I just hate that. It's okay to get excited about that.
And I want to. Oh, I was just going to point out real quick from chat. I apologize if I mispronounced your name, but Kingali. He actually reminded me of a game that I cast, Snoop beating Life. Sickest play from the entire tournament, and unfortunately it wasn't on main stage, so not everyone got to see it, but totally go back and look at the VODs. Game number 3 between Snoot and Life, when Snoot pops out of the Nidus Worm after being down and losing a hatch, and he's got 5 queens sitting around and just rapid transfusion about 13 times in a row. It was unbelievable, so really, really check that one out. That's like my personal top play from the entire event.
Yeah, and I was supposed to have Snoot on Pro Corner tomorrow to go over that replay, but unfortunately he has some online event he has to play now, like last minute. So unfortunately I'll have to do it maybe next week. But yeah, that was an awesome moment. I mean, obviously beating Life. I mean, that's freaking amazing. But Stefano too. Stefano in that 4-game run. I was talking to you, John, about this last night about Stefano, right? A little bit at Lone Star Clash, and then definitely during that World Championship. Portion of IPL. I mean, obviously during IPL 5 he didn't have a good run, right? But during that World Championship, I mean, like you saw the baller Stefano kind of, the serious Stefano, like, it's time to kick some ass type of Stefano actually come in. And I saw that same Stefano at Lone Star Clash, like the serious, no joking around, no like hamming it up or anything, like come here to play. And that's what I saw that in Stefano, like during that 4-game run. And that was good stuff, because that's what I like. I mean, that's what I want to see, from Stefano and like Scarlet is, that sort of play, and especially Stefano, because he has this understanding of the game that people just don't realize. Like, I forget which game it was, but he like it was basically a scrappy game, and you could just see his understanding of how to just kind of like still materialize the game into more of a classic situation, and it was, oh god, just so good. So even though I wish he would have pulled it out against Squirtle, and I don't know why he went Roach Hydra Corruptor at the end there against the Dead Brother Deadfall, but I'm not going to question the guy since he did so awesome. But yeah, those are the 2 moments for me too. But yeah, it was definitely amazing. Let's talk about numbers, Kevin. Now that you bring up numbers, what kind of numbers can you tell us, bud?
Okay, so this will end up being more teasing than anything else, and I have to look over to David's desk and see how much he's going to yell at me for leaking a couple of these. But it blew away every expectation we had. We set out to come close to doubling IPL 4, and that's what we did in terms of numbers overall. So that'll give you a rough perspective. We're still waiting on our Chinese numbers to come in, and that actually accounted for about 30% of our overall views. So what I talk about now will actually only be based on our international numbers minus the Chinese numbers. And so here's the teaser I'll give you, and this should put it in perspective. MLG claimed that last year they had 15 million hours of video views. We did about 5 million more than that last weekend. So that's
Wow.
that should hopefully give you some sort of perspective, and that doesn't include our Chinese viewership either.
Okay. Wow, that's
Let's just say the IGN.com thing really helped,
oh
Yeah.
my god, that was.
and people really liked
That's
the
a
event.
big deal. It's a really big deal.
I mean, I have to say, when David announced that on climbing the ladder a couple weeks ago, we were all just like flabbergasted, right? And just like thinking it was probably one of the largest things that you could do to promote esports that's happened in the last year. I mean, maybe even more. So, so obviously that was our reaction. But I have to say, there was this little piece of me I was a little skeptical as to how it was going to be executed. Wasn't sure it was going to be like a live, like the live stream just playing once you just go to IGN.com. But man, I was very, very happy.
Yeah, I figured, I'm watching chat, and I figured a couple of these questions would come up. So we broke every record for IGN.com front page views ever established in the history of the
really?
website. We're the world's largest video game.
wow.
So so that goes to show that there was a lot of
Yeah.
people that were coming there specifically for that. It was not
Yeah,
just
sure.
a bunch of
And-
IGN people
Yeah.
visiting IGN and then going to. So that's good. That's a good number to share.
And here's a couple more that actually get put on top of that too. So the engagement rate for IGN.com was doubled over the weekend from what it normally gets. So we doubled the engagement rate because people were interacting with streams. Time viewed on front page was tripled. So people that were coming to the site weren't just coming to IGN.com and clicking to other things. They were sitting there and they were actually watching and consuming esports content. So that's all really big for us. And the cool thing too is that IGN.com specifically made up a good portion of our viewers, don't get me wrong, but it was not the lion's share at all. We had a huge portion. I think we were around 275,000 concurrent on Twitch TV just alone, and that doesn't count.
Yep.
We were on Xbox Live the entire weekend, on our iOS app, on IGN.com, and through our Chinese streams and our Taiwanese streams too. So all those added up, we actually had massive viewership.
And I think the biggest number, I think that the thing that's important the most is that it's not so much about comparing numbers with MLG and DreamHack, whatever. It's about reaching a different demographic. Yeah, we're all gamers, and a lot of people that go to IGN are obviously, I don't know the number, but 99% of them are people that are interested in gaming. And that's the key, because maybe of everyone that comes to IGN, maybe only 25% even know what esports is. So to me, that was the biggest thing. To me, that's the most important number, is how many people did we reach that we hadn't reached before? Were we able to bridge the gap a little bit between those that are casual gamers and just, have an interest in what's going on in the gaming world, and those in our small industry of esports? I mean, let's hope that that's really what happened. To me, that's the most important number.
Yeah, we've been trying to do this for quite some time. Whenever we publish things on the IPL site, it actually gets published to IGN.com too, and we actually change the titles that appear on IGN.com, specifically to try to target the general gamer that doesn't have anything, any knowledge of esports at all, and try to get them to click that, so they're like, well, what is this? And this was kind of the fulfillment of what we were trying to do is, in your face, now you actually see what this is, and hopefully, people were so used to reading about it, and, maybe getting used to the idea where they tune in and were like, you know what, this is actually pretty cool, because, see on GameSpot, Slasher's articles where people are always like, LOL esports, what's this? This was like in their face, and they couldn't deny how cool it was anymore because it was everywhere.
Somebody had a good question, and it's an interest. It will show whether or not you were able to connect with those people that are not normally in esports. Is, have you seen an uptick in the number of people that have visited the actual IPL website since the event? I mean, since the event, has there been an uptick in activity going on with what IPL is doing outside of the fact that it was on IGN?
Yeah, so these are a couple of numbers that I can't safely share because we know we have all those figures and stuff like that.
Sure.
So during IPL 4, we received an average about 500,000 unique hits to specific pieces of content per day over the course of the events. On this event, it was 2 million, so we quadrupled that number.
Wow. Wow.
Yes, and so that was a significant uptick for us, and a lot of that was the way we presented information, a little more comprehensive brackets, scheduling, things along those lines.
Yeah.
But overall, it was a massive increase for us.
Yeah, because I think David was estimating like 1 million just per day, uniques per day, but I don't know if he was it was just kind of a rough estimate, but that's kind of what the number he threw out when he was on. So, one thing I'm remembering that David talked about that. I don't remember seeing, maybe I just missed it, but was there supposed to be any on-floor coverage, like with Naomi Kyle, or did that ever happen?
Oh, so there was a little bit. We actually ended up bringing out Destin Laguerre, who's a personality at IGN, and he ended up filming a documentary, something that you're going to see
Okay.
come out over the next couple of weeks from IGN proper. That happened the entire weekend, and that was actually decided the best for us. There was a scheduling conflict with Naomi. She actually had an engagement that Friday and Saturday, and she could come out for Thursday, but it was VIP only day for Thursday, and there wasn't many people there. So it was decided we'll just take a rain check, and next time she'll be there.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. I just for some reason like that. I just kind of remembered that. Well, one thing that I don't want to be totally remiss to the fighting game community and Shoot Mania. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about that because I didn't catch much of it. I'll just admittingly, how did those events go? I heard some of was it the Root guys were playing in Shoot Mania or something like that?
Yeah, Root was.
So how did those events go?
They went really well. Specifically, we've been talking about StarCraft, obviously, here. On the Shoot Mania side, it was really successful. A lot of people got exposed to the brand through IGN.com, and our Twitch numbers were better than ever, so we're really happy with that. We also had a ton of people that were in the room and playing the game, which was an important metric of success for us. But to build on top of that, I'll be honest, and I know I'm in front of a mostly StarCraft audience here, but I'm fine with talking about League of Legends. League of Legends was ridiculous over the weekend.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It was
amazing.
Unbelievable. So while there were, and actually Scoots was bringing up in chat, and I do want to address his point with GSL numbers and stuff like that, I actually didn't include those numbers either, or what was going through the Gome player, or what in any of these calculations. We still have those numbers to put on too, but League of Legends blew it out of the water. It was unbelievable to see the response that we got internationally, locally. And I'll be totally honest, the vast majority of our viewership for the weekend was in League of Legends.
Yeah,
just
not surprising.
Just on Twitch and LOL, I think it was. I mean, just looking at the stream numbers, it was over like 250K concurrent only on Twitch, and like that doesn't count on anything else. And I don't know the numbers on everything else, but just because I was just kind of watching LOL, I didn't get the the backstage part of LOL for most of the time. But LOL was amazing the whole time, and the stories of LOL added into the stories of Star. I mean, there were even more stories in LOL too that we don't even have time to go into on this show.
Yeah, definitely. And again, thank goodness for y'all's DVR because I was able to catch some of the LOL stuff late at night whenever I was not watching StarCraft. But yeah, so obviously another big announcement you guys had at IPL 5 was Capcom, right? At IPL 6. So Street Fighter at IPL 6, right? I mean, is that what we're talking?
Yes.
We've
awesome.
Definitely
got to put it in perspective too. If we want to start jumpstart IPL 6 discussions, we're looking at a potential of 10 to 12 titles in total being over at IPL 6. Yeah, we're in talks with a lot of people, a lot of interest obviously over this past weekend from different developers and trying to see what fits, what makes sense for us. But yeah, definitely we have confirmed at this time Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter Cross Tech, and also Dead or Alive 5. And then obviously, while I can't physically name the titles that we're looking at continuing with Capcom, I think you can fill in the blanks that there's other titles that we're in talks with right now that are Capcom associated.
Okay, yeah, that's I think that's so exciting for the obviously the fighting game community. So it's gonna be awesome seeing Street Fighter.
Well, it's going to be. It sounds like IPL 6 is going to be massive.
Yeah, thanks.
Massive.
I think so. And I heard David mention mobile in there, so obviously I'm going to be very curious to see.
I will say that David had a very interesting interview with ESPN where he may not have
God.
So please do not take what he said as we are not planning for IPL 7 to have people in full body VR.
No, what was that about?
Nor are we planning to have any mobile games involved at the event.
Oh man, I know a lot of the top gamers were like, "Oh no, that's the future of esports. It's gonna actually be physical play. Oh man, we're screwed."
So here's what happened. David has an interview. We're like, "All right, so where's this interview?" And then we read it, and we're like, "Okay, all right." And it was kind of funny. Kevin and I were just talking, and we see ESFI posts IPL 6 dates announced. I'm like, "Oh, I guess we announced IPL 6 then." So kind of happened.
Yeah, that'll be pretty interesting if he's right about IPL 7. But let's see, what do I have here? One thing I did forget to talk about a little bit. It's kind of just jumping topics, but just so I don't forget, excuse me. So League of Legends had some news too, right? Recently, which was I Will Dominate being suspended for a year. So, John, what do you think of that? Because just because.
Well, I read up on it, and having been a tournament director and still being very much involved in a lot of that, it was an interesting thing. I don't think we're not all going to agree on the process, but the thing is that apparently they have a process in place, a tribunal, and he was presented to that several times, and as long as the option was told to him that, hey, listen, you keep this up, you could be banned, then it is on him. Now, do I think that that's a ridiculous way to go about things? Yes. Do I think a year long is ridiculous? I do. I think a year from competition just makes zero sense, especially if you just ran your finals and there was cheating involved, and you find those players or those teams, and then you ban a guy for just being an asshole in public games.
I will say though, I will say that I have a little bit of background information on this, working with the LOL team here. I do know that and I'm not going to talk about too many specifics, but I do know that they basically approached him in the past multiple times. That was not public in any way, shape, or form. It was basically like, you're putting us in a really difficult position. We've banned people permanently for plenty less. You need to stop. It happened again. They said, okay, this is our last straw. You really have to stop. None of this is public, of course. Right. They didn't release these. It's just the final decision. And then eventually it got to the point where it was too much. Apparently, I don't know what was finally the straw that broke the camel's back. I'm not sure the circumstances that dictated their response, but I do know that he had been reminded several times that this was perma-bannable offenses, that these were perma-bannable offenses, and that he didn't listen to it. I don't know.
Well, yeah, and if that's the case, if it was explained that it was a perma-ban or a ban for a year, and then he, regardless of what I think of the rule itself and getting on, banning people for trash talking, that's besides the point. I mean, if it was laid out there for him and then he went ahead and basically did this on his own, then it's all on him.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame because he's such a good player too. So it's it's going to be tough it's going to hurt his career for sure, because now they have to replace him. And I mean, for a whole year, you're pretty much gone. I mean, so
yeah, I think I think he in all realistically, I think he's probably done with League of Legends. I can't imagine just sitting around for a year. What are you going to do?
Well, what else would they have done?
I honestly, I actually was a little glad. So, I don't know if you guys know, but I played Dota, semi-professionally, professionally for a very long time. And the reason I don't play Dota 2 now is 100% because the community is just, quite frankly, shit. It's awful. It's awful to play in the games. And so anything that tries to clean up people from being complete assholes in a game, I am 100% for. If the stat that they gave for him, that he was in the 0.7% of most grievous offenders, then I say get him out. I hate that. As a player, as a tournament organizer, I'm tired of people just treating people like crap. It makes everyone's experience worse. It makes the community worse. There's nothing good that comes from it. Anyone that does that, I just say get him out. And I'm frankly glad. I wish they would ban more pros that act like that. I wish every league banned pros that acted like that. That's how I feel about it.
Frank, putting down the hammer, man. Screw these BMers, right? Yeah, I mean, in the Dota, I mean, the MOBA games, I mean, obviously whenever, you were talking about teams of 5, and, obviously when you're randomly put together with a lot of folks, if you guys haven't played MOBAs, your teammates generally don't have nice words for you if you're not as good as they are. So,
and I will say, to Riot's credit, it actually is enjoyable to play LoL most of the time. You do get jerks a lot of times, but I have fun playing LoL because most of the time, I'll say about 60 to 70% of the time, I have pretty pleasant people that I'm playing with.
Are you playing with friends, or are you playing random though?
No, just solo queuing. Just solo
really?
queuing.
Solo queuing? Wow.
Yeah. So, and to play Dota 2, I have to have a group of 5, or I just hate it every time. I try actively to do it, and it's just every single time. The voice chat exacerbates it because you just have people swearing at you, through voice chat. At least in LoL, that doesn't happen.
But it's just out by a 12-year-old.
Yeah, basically. Like,
Though, and people are commenting in the chat about this, but you've been playing games long enough, Frank, and I have in different communities in FPS, and this stuff is pretty much always going to happen, especially when it's
Yeah.
online. I mean, you're always going to be dealing with people that are talking shit. It's really definitely.
whoop,
Oh, I guess we lost John.
lost Sean.
No,
Wasn't me this time, guys. Wasn't me.
Yeah, it will happen though. Anonymity is what really makes it a huge problem. And until we get to the point where people do stuff that they do and they get banned a week, until it starts being like for 3 months or 4 months, it's probably not going to get cleaned up that much. But
Yeah.
anything that a developer does, I mean, this isn't even the community. Anything that a developer does to try to clean up the community of their game is positive, in my opinion.
That's true. I have to agree with that. Well, why don't we start up some questions? You guys cool?
I just got banned actually from
You
Skype.
did, man.
Yeah.
Got
When
banned
you're
from climbing the
permanent.
ladder, man. ChanmanV channel. My mods took you out. No, but why don't we take some questions now, guys? I know a lot of you folks have been asking them throughout, and I know we've been able to answer a few of them during the airing, but why don't we give you guys some time to ask directly, and even call in if you guys want. So go ahead and add me on Skype. My Skype ID is ChanmanV. If you want to, and I'll pull you into the call so you can actually ask in person or on voice. But if you don't have Skype or you don't want to do that, you can go ahead and kind of type out your questions in stream chat, and we'll read them out and answer them if we can.
And I also have a question for the stream viewers out there, too, and feel free to type in chat if you want, but we take feedback very, very seriously here. So if there's anything that you wanted to see changed at IPL 5, things you like, things you didn't, we are always open and listening, so you can tweet at us at IGN Pro League. There are contact forms on our website. Please, anything you want to let us know, that helps us. It helps us become a better organization.
Okay, I got a couple for you. Oh, I got a couple suggestions for you. Well, just to kind of start it up.
Uh-oh.
First off, confetti, guys. Confetti on Celebration.
Do you want to sweep it up? Because I don't want to
Yeah,
sweep it
Dude,
up.
It is so worth it, though, man. I mean,
We are bound by some rules of our venue. I'll put it at that as well. So there are certain limitations, it being in that nice of a venue in Vegas and stuff like that, as to what we can and can't do.
Right.
It's like, and the funny part is too, is that, like, GOM comes to us and they're like, okay, we want $250,000 of pyrotechnics, and we want
Yeah.
we want like 5 live naked people running around the stage and punching people in the face. Like, they really want to make it ridiculous, over the top events. Some we can accommodate, some we can't. But I think we got to a close. I definitely agree with you, though. I'd like to take it a little more over the top.
Right.
Yeah, I think closing ceremonies are a huge sore spot among most organizations. We have to figure out some way to really. I mean, you just spent 3 or 4 days competing, and you get to the very end, and it's like, well, see you later. We definitely need to
That could be worked.
definitely need to improve on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's most events, too. I think DreamHack's done a decent job. If they know how to open champagne bottles, but for the most part, they do a pretty good job of, sending them out there and doing that sort of thing. And then secondly, the World Championships, I feel like y'all did a great job with that. I didn't realize it was multiple days. I thought it was just going to be a one-time show match. So I'm going to throw this out there. This has been an idea I've had forever, and I actually have it pretty developed. But since you guys came really close to doing it, like, do a Ryder Cup event. Do a Ryder Cup event.
So
Yeah,
I will just
certainly
let you
talked
in on
about
my
that.
own plan. We have Kevin and I have talked about this since IPL 2.
Dude, you can ask John. I've been talking about it for a
So
long
there
time.
are many, many, many logistical issues in it that we have been trying to find ways around. But I will tell you, like, this is a personal thing for me. I want to make this happen, and I am going to do everything possible to make it happen, because we actually had, like, at one point we had the teams, the lineups, the coaches, like everything picked out, but we just couldn't make it work. But I really do want to actually see that happen.
Dude, I need to talk to you offline a little bit too, because free consulting here, man. I mean, I'm happy to help. I'm happy to help you out with at least some of the creative aspects of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be awesome, dude. If it was its own 3-day event, that would be amazing.
I actually saw one of the questions I wanted to answer about the IMBA thing. because obviously that
Yes.
came full center with
Okay,
Ryan.
yeah.
Imba, Gigi, or whatever it was. Everyone in the world except for Lee Knock seems to know that investors are kind of overpowered right now. I just say that because it was funny in the
The
interview.
patch just came out, guys.
It was funny. Yeah, it was funny in the interview. Slasher was trying to get him to say it, just wouldn't say it. Anyway, they are a little strong. Blizzard did just nerf them. I think it's going to be okay. They know they need to change.
Oh, oops.
They just don't want to overdo it, so then Zerg is just going to win like % of the time. They have to figure out how to balance this stuff.
Yeah. I think your mic's not working too well, bud.
Sorry.
I think it's his mic, right? Yeah.
Maybe.
There you go.
Everyone knows they're overpowered. They're going to get fixed.
Yeah, I mean, I think they got fixed. Was it today? I think it was today, right?
It's not going to be enough, most likely, but they have to do it in small steps.
Yeah, they gave Hinner Seeker Missile for free to Terrans, too, which that's going to help, too. So that's kind of cool. But okay, so I got a question from Muffins. She wants to know why Scarlet versus Naniwa, which was obviously a very high-profile match in the IPL 5 tournament, was not shown on stream.
So I actually saw that question, and I am going to look and see the other matches that were on at the time. So there was Lucifron versus Violet, and the reason we chose that is because at the European WCS, Lucifron, it looked like an unstoppable beast TVZ. Like, his strategy was amazing. Really wanted to get him on stream at some point, and that seemed like a really good match that would go on. So that was one. Life versus Huck. I don't know if I need to explain why that one was on stream. And then Hyung versus Boon Boom, and that was basically because we wanted Hyun to have his moment for Fight Club, and it was a pretty good match also. So those were the matches that were on stream at the same time as Naniwa Huck. So that's why that one was not shown.
Yeah,
Or,
I mean, you guys are
Naniwa
always
versus
gonna,
Scarlet.
you guys are always going to get
Scarlet.
shit for whoever you put up. Somebody else is, if you have to choose, somebody's going to like the other one anyway.
If you didn't like it, I'm the last word on what goes on stream. Feel free to complain to me. I will take the criticism. But it was basically me and Adrian, who was in chat, that were deciding the matches to go on the main stream, and we were consulting with people. But ultimately, that ends up being my decision at the end. And I just thought that those, as he comes in the background, I did see that match, and I just thought that it would be worth it to put Lucifron on once. I mean, you could say that maybe that would have been off, and Lucifron ended up not having a good event, so it looks even worse. But Lucifron had been amazing, and at Europe he looked unstoppable against Zerg, except for his brother. And then, of course, he lost to his brother again. That always happens.
He always loses to his brother. Yeah.
But those are the matches that we chose instead of that one.
Okay, let's see some of these other questions. That's fair enough, fair enough. I was wondering the same thing, but that's fair. Let's see. Will we see tournament hosts running naked in a proud fashion during IPL 6, Kevin?
Yes.
Done. Done.
The community has spoken.
Okay, let's see. Question. We talked about this on other CTLs. Is there a way to get same sponsors? Like, we had Astro there for headsets. Can we also get SteelSeries, Plantronics, Razer, etc.? Does it increase revenue or just hurt it?
Wait a second. So you're
I think he's asking, can you have overlapping
Multiple
sponsors?
overlapping.
At your
it all depends. I mean, some sponsors only want to come in and they want to be, well, I want to be the official left half of the memory stick that's used on your machines or something like that, and they want to come in for a very small buy. Some sponsors want to come in with, I want to dominate all of your accessories at the tournament, keyboard, mouse, headset, whatever the case may be. So I think it all just depends on the size of the sponsorship and what they're actually looking for. I'm sure if a sponsor came to us and was like, I will give you $48 billion, but I want to be the sole sponsor of your event, we'd probably say, yeah, okay, sure, yeah, it's all yours.
Yeah.
But it's really just on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, I know actually, I don't remember if it was, and Kevin could tell me, but one of our events we had both Astro and Razer as a sponsor, I'm pretty sure. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, even at this one, we had, we had Astro that was there. We had Mad Cats for other peripherals too. So I mean, it just, again, it's all case by case basis. You can't say that necessarily one will demand exclusivity over the other. That all comes with a price, but
I see. Okay, cool. So what do you kind of following up on just I guess some of the sponsors, not really following up, but just made me think of it. Just thinking of sponsor booths. What do you guys think of team booths at IPL events?
So,
Sir,
go ahead. Sorry.
oh no, I was just going to say, for us, it would be really cool to be able to incorporate those at some point. We had a little bit of limitations on space. This was actually, we had the entire fourth floor of the Cosmopolitan Convention space that was actually reserved, and every single room was occupied with something. And there are regulations in that Cosmopolitan. You can't put booths or anything like that in the walking paths. That is actually the path that also guests at the hotel will use to go to their to the pool, things like that. Mm-hmm. So we didn't actually have any excess space whatsoever. We are definitely going to get much larger for IPL 6, though. Much larger, at least doubling the size of the square footage, things like that. And it's something we can evaluate a little bit better then.
Okay.
Well, hopefully we have some teams left by then.
Yeah, seriously. We'll have at least one team.
Yeah.
But, okay, so Uboss has a question. Uboss is a long-time caller, or a guy who usually calls in, but not today. He asks, what is the degree of importance that IPL is giving to European viewers? Because obviously you had a focus on Asian viewers, right, with having the Chinese streams and obviously Korea. Did y'all take into account scheduling for the EU folks?
Absolutely, we did, and we had a little bit of delay, unfortunately, the last day where we couldn't get the finals played until super late. We were actually about an hour and a half behind schedule on that day. Our finals were supposed to begin at about 6. Stefano kind of did his best to delay us as long as possible by almost reverse all killing, so that delayed us a bit. As far as we actually have plans for some European language streams that we're working on. We couldn't quite get all that stuff in for IPL 5, but we are trying to do so for both future online and live events. We're working on that a little bit. Wow. Can't really discuss the details yet, but we really do think of Europe. We started things as early as possible. Some other events don't start in the first days of the afternoon or don't start until later in the day. We wanted to start in the morning every single day. So yes, absolutely, we care about European viewers.
Okay, great. Let's see. Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
Oh, I was just going to say, to build on to that too, it is a little bit interesting. I mean, it may seem like if we have specific foreign languages that are being broadcast to Asian countries that we're playing favoritism over the Europeans. I want to say that's not necessarily the case. We're following convention that a lot of European events have already established, which is your primary stream is conveyed in English. And we are working with people in the future to provide other foreign languages too, and specifically European ones. So have no fear. We are certainly thinking about our European viewers.
Right. Okay, Max Reiger has a question. Did IPL hire the horn guy for IPL 6?
Oh God, I love the horn guy.
That was awesome.
We do not have him on the payroll yet, but horn guy, if you're listening, you rock. I want to see you at every event ever.
It was like the weekend of his life. I remember he just came up to me and he's like, "Sign the horn. This is the best thing that's ever happened to me ever." He snuck it in every day. We had one of our caster assistants who was actually backstage tweeting the whole time, like, "This horn is the bane of me. I wish I could crush it out of existence." But I loved it.
I loved it. Like, it was funny, because eventually, there was one complaint about it the entire time where they're like, "Well, you couldn't hear him over the casters," so we went to him and just don't blast it when over the casters. And other than that, everyone seemed to like it. I thought it was awesome. It actually made it feel more like a sports event to me. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It just kind of added to it. So I thought he was amazing.
Yeah, if you didn't hear it, John, it was like a war horn base.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I would have got annoyed by it though after a while. I mean, I've been to soccer matches where the vuvuzelas go off or horns go off, and after a while it just gets annoying. But Kevin, real quick, just before we forget, someone's asking what sort of headset you have.
Oh, so I'm using, I think it's a TT Esports Draco headset. So a bunch of gear came in from them as they did a lot of sponsor promotions through us recently, and it's actually the flashiest headset I've ever used in my life.
It looks like something off a spaceship or something.
Bling,
yeah,
man.
I look like such a badass just standing up. I have a standing desk here too, and I'm really tall, so I just lord over everyone with my giant gold headset.
So that's awesome. Okay, so let's see, Gretsch Swinkle. Or Giesk Switch. Oh, I'm just not going to try. His question is: did GOM production on site give some insight into what other tournaments have been doing wrong, like the number of people, I guess the number of staff, the equipment being used, etc.?
So here's the cool thing with Gomes Production is that they work together better than almost any other organization I've seen. Their equipment, quite frankly, they've been using it since the Brood War days. It's not like they're bringing... I mean, we have certain pieces of equipment here in our studio that will do what maybe 4 or 5 pieces of their equipment do, but that doesn't matter when you have people that run at that professional of a level can come together and... like I said, I mean, it's just they were a well-oiled machine. They had no hiccups the entire weekend. They know how to use their equipment perfectly. So it's not the equipment necessarily. It's just who's running it, and that's what's important.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see. See any other questions? You guys pick some out of here too if you see any.
I am not Idra's father, actually.
Oh my! Who
I've
asked
actually
that?
I've actually gotten
Jeez.
that. Like, you would not believe, I've gotten that at least 20 times. Like,
What? You don't
I
look
don't
anything like Greg. Jeez, that's weird.
It's just because of the last name thing, but I don't look old enough to be his dad, so I always wonder where that one comes from.
Somebody did ask earlier, is there an effort to extend the white flag of friendship between the IPL GomTV conglomerate and the MLG, DreamHack, ESL, Kespa group?
All right,
Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
I want to take this one first, and I'm sure Kevin will too. So David actually, made a statement, so I can talk a little bit more about this than I would have. We weren't approached by that conglomerate. We are all for... IPL has always been, we want to work with everyone all the time. We will always work with anyone that wants to talk to us. Like, unconditionally, if you want to talk about partnership, we will always talk. We will always listen. Every single time. So, yes, like, in short, absolutely we will. But if, we, at the same time, if we didn't know about this, really, and no one came to us about it. So it's not like we were like, oh, we don't want to work with them. That's definitely not the case at all. We want to work with everyone. Just, no one ever came to us to talk about it, basically.
Okay. I thought you guys were approached. Yeah.
I thought David said you were approached,
Yeah,
or maybe he said after the fact that they were approached. I don't know.
No, I think we were approached afterwards. He had said that we were
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
before.
not
So
the
you weren't
initial.
included in the initial conversation, which to me is odd.
Correct,
A little
yes.
bit discerning, actually, to be honest with you, but I guess it is what it is. There is another question. Actually, this comes from Scoots.
I saw that.
It says,
Scott.
any
all right.
plans for Dota 2, or does your League of Legends contract prohibit that?
Kevin,
So-
you take this one first.
Hey, sure, I'll
That's
go
a
ahead and
good
talk about
question.
this one. No, actually, and League of Legends is changing the way that they're dealing with other leagues and stuff like that, so we're always willing to speak to other developers, and we have actually talked to Valve in the past about, different games and what they're offering. I saw he mentioned CSGO in there, too, in his responses, so we're always willing to talk with them. We're not as far along with them as we are with other developers and organizations, but possibility is always there.
Yeah, exclusivity is not necessarily part of every title, and we're open to things. We've talked about it in the office, obviously, because it's out there, and most of us watch the International 2 and the International 1 and love them, so maybe sometime.
All right, let's take a caller. We have Adeline here, who's pretty regular caller here. Actually, Kurt's in the. I should get Kurt on too.
Hello, guys.
Kurt is our regular caller. Hey, Adeline, how's it going?
Oh,
I
yeah, hello.
have a question about marketing. I think I've been talking this with Mark a few times before, but I wanted to know, you guys have been working in cooperation with IPL for a bit. Do you have any plans to branch out advertisement-wise, sell products that GomTV are advertising to the Western scenes in kind of a coalition where you sell products in the Western scenes and they sell products and some of your products gets advertised in Korea, for instance, because I would be really interested. I'm from Denmark and I can't really, I've checked, but I can't actually import hot sticks. And that kind of bothered me.
Now, as
right.
far as being able to physically import, export products and stuff like that, I mean, I don't know what sort of an impact we would have if there are trade regulations between countries that are limiting certain goods. I honestly, I couldn't answer that 100%, and I wouldn't want to give you a wrong answer. In regards to whether we would like to help them out with advertising or crossover sponsors or promotions or help fill ad inventory for other organizations, yeah, we 100% are interested in approaching that, and we are working with different people. I won't necessarily say to what extent because I don't know, what we want to make public at this time, but we are certainly interested in making sure that advertisers are working between multiple organizations.
That sounds cool.
Okay. All right, thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Well, Kurt has no questions this week. Wow.
There's another one
I'm
in
like
here.
Totally,
That's a good question.
totally shocked. Okay, go for it.
I want to know why you guys chose double elimination. This seems to be the hot topic lately. In
Really?
regards to
See,
formats.
I actually.
Yeah.
All right. So this is also a little bit my domain, obviously. So and this was actually a David top-down thing at the beginning. We decided we did not want to go with group play this time, and I was a little skeptical on it at first, but how it turned out, I actually liked it because we thought that the storytelling of double elimination is better than the storytelling for group play. And at least in my opinion, and I think a lot of opinion of the people who work here also, and some people that I've talked to outside, that the storytelling was better in this event that we've had at the previous IPLs, because you can see that the roads that people have to take and every single step and how that matters. I liked it a lot more than groups. I mean, we've considered group single elimination, like GSL, like I think DreamHack has the same format. I'm not sure about other ones. That's definitely an option, and definitely going to consider that for next event. But the storytelling was the biggest factor for why double elimination was chosen.
I want to comment on that because that's an interesting way of putting it. The storytelling probably was better, and obviously Lone Star Clash 2 did the same thing. It's obviously a little bit different tournament. It's more of an invite tournament. But I see that more as it's just easier to tell the story. I think that what we've missed in group play, and no one has really done it. One, there's a couple issues of them not playing the last set of games at the same time like they should technically. But one of the issues is they really, a lot of times they don't even find the stories, because there are stories in group play, in my opinion at least. It just takes more work on your end to talk about those stories. But I agree. I think the double elimination, it's easier to tell that story, and it's easier for the viewers without having to be kind of walked along, or have their hand held through the story. So I think it is a little bit easier. I don't mind the double elimination. I guess I don't understand everyone being against it.
I think.
Okay. Go ahead, Kevin.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was like everyone talking at the same time. So I think we still have yet to find the perfect tournament format, but I do like the fact that we tried to take a risk on it, try something a little bit newer. The reason, and I'll give you guys the justification behind setting up just a large bracket, was to give it kind of more of an NCAA feel. We had a player, Scarlett, for example, at IPL 4. She makes a great run through the bracket. She doesn't quite make it to what was group stages, and then before another bracket. So while she got noticed there, we figured, okay, well, what if someone had the potential, rise up out of nowhere, make this immaculate run through the bracket, get almost to the finals? They don't have to then worry about being put into another group stage where there's a bunch of seeded players who didn't participate in the Open. They're fresh. And so that was the justification behind it. Was it implemented 100% perfectly? Well, no. Maybe we have some things to look at and evaluate. But otherwise, I think the idea was at least good to try once.
And I actually think we got that story a little bit. I think Pult was that story. Because when you think about it, Pult really hadn't done that much since his assembly win, which was like January or February? It was a really long time ago. And here he came out of nowhere and got all the way up to third.
Yeah, and I'll also point out players like the STC. I was about to say Quantic the STC, and then I almost cried. But, the STC had an amazing run all the way through the bracket, really showed up in a big way. We had players like Bomber, Violet, even. Violet went all the way from winners round 1 like Knocke did, and knocked out some incredible players along the way. So it was very cool to watch. Now, is that the format we're going to stick with? Who knows? We'll have to evaluate it as we go along. But again, I'll just go back to the fact, I like the fact that we tried.
My only comment about it is that I think the people who like the pool system better, I think the reason they like the pool system better is because it's usually a system that consistently results in the top, like let's just say 16 players remaining in the tournament. Even though it's not perfect, but I think consistently it does a good job of that. And I think one of the biggest reasons that a bracketed system hasn't really worked in the past, a double elimination bracket, is because we don't have a solid ranking system. Like if all the players were accurately ranked, we could use a bracket, and then there would be plenty of stories. Like double elimination bracket, plenty of storylines if they were accurately ranked. It's just right now you fall in. Some of them are like randomly drawn, which is crazy, right? And some of them are just some of them are fixed in a way. And in some of those cases, you end up having like somebody getting knocked out in two matches, boom, they're out, and it's like somebody super popular, right? So that's I think that's like the fundamental issue. It's like
so I'll actually a little bit more insight. Like we manually seed all of our tournaments, and we do it like the week before the event. So that's why people are asking about the bracket, because we actually hadn't seeded it until like the week before the event. And I mean, you guys obviously know the level of competition, but stuff like there are Korean players that are getting eliminated in losers round 2. Like I actually think what works in other tournaments won't necessarily work in our tournament because the level of competition is so high. Because you have people like MC finishing 25th to 32nd in our tournament, and that wasn't even a bad run necessarily. Like. And Ryung, who was in the Kodesh round of 4, he didn't have the best tournament, still finished 25th, 32nd. The level of competition is so high that if you give people the advantage of having group and make everyone else go through this open bracket, so that by the time you get up to someone who's probably just your equal, I mean, in other events, you have a lot of lesser players that are getting through the open brackets to try to get into the groups or the champ bracket or whatever you want to call it. Right. In our event, they're all that good. Like, they're all worthy of being in that stage, and giving them that advantage over each other, I don't know how that would end up in our event.
Well, Frank, what you mentioned there, that format is that might be one part of the problems, is that we only see that sort of format where it goes open and then a chance to get into the group play, because that's the way MLG's done it. Really, I think there are not too many others that do it that way. But I mean, why not just have it all in open bracket until you get down to the final 32? Then you go to groups, or something like that. I mean, there's lots of different options. I think people have gotten used to the idea that there has to be this huge open to get into the group that's already been already filled with 20 players, and then you're putting 12 more in or something like that. But I thought what you guys did was fine. I thought the double elimination worked nice.
I thought
it was easier for me to follow the players that I wanted to follow. That's for sure.
I think y'all put together probably the most competitive tournament of the year. I mean, it was probably I think I talked to a few players, and they said it was the toughest tournament of the year to get through. And I remember on Thursday night we were seeing last finals type of matchups on day one. So it was, I mean, that Thursday was amazing. Unfortunately, a lot of the folks got knocked out by the time we got to Sunday. A lot of the at least fan favorites were knocked out by then. So storyline again. I was telling you before, I was like, I was hoping that some of the storylines would pan out for you guys. But even without the storylines really panning out for you optimally, I mean, you had such an amazing event. So I can't even imagine what would have happened if Hyun would have won GSL. Scarlet Stefano would have made a huge run against the Koreans. The foreigners would have beat the Koreans in the WC. I mean,
the best possible story obviously would have been Hyun winning both events because of his run in Fight Club. And we were all just kind of hoping for that on the inside. And actually, it was funny. Sniper was the one who was closest to doing that because he won GSL and he got the furthest out of all the GSL players in IPL 5. That's right. So I think it was top 8, if my memory is serving me right.
Sniper.
Top 6 actually.
6, yeah.
So he got pretty close.
Yeah. He ended up losing against, what was it, Bomber? I think in the round of 6. Yeah.
Or no, he lost to Polt and Bomber beat Symbol. So they just barely dodged the team kill.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Any other questions here, guys? I haven't been watching this, unfortunately. Lots of Scoots talking here.
He apparently on December 19th, and
Oh yeah.
we obviously have no
Live on 3. Yeah.
we have no problem telling other people about other shows. On December 19th, he's going to be on his last Live on 3 show, and he at that point he'll tell people kind of what's going on with him. So
Yeah, tune
definitely
in for that,
worth
guys.
checking in. Yeah.
And I actually want to just add, of all the people in esports, I look up to Scott probably more than anyone. So I haven't actually got to talk to Scott about this. But Scott, whatever you're doing, man, wish you the luck because you were an amazing figure in esports for sure.
Yes, definitely. I mean, yeah, he'll explain everything to you guys, I guess, on the 19th, which is 2 weeks from today. And yeah, it's definitely gonna miss him on the show because I felt like Scott added a very awesome element to the show. So he added kind of that hard hitting element to it, to slash your feet. So I'm gonna miss that, but I'm sure the guys will figure something great out too, and Scoots will be doing something awesome in the future. But
Apparently, he is now Frank's boss at IPL. That David was supposed to let these guys know.
oh, shit.
Starting January 1st, Scoots will be the new IPL.
Scoots moving to the Bay Area.
Everyone's moving to the Bay Area, so why not? We got TSM here now. I mean, let's
That's
just
true.
keep piling people over here.
That's trouble.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That's trouble, man. Okay, how about we take one or two more questions here? Anything, guys? Let's see. Nice handle for the Pro League. That's funny.
I'll take a raise. That's not a question, but I'll take one.
I'll take. Isn't that many? Let's see.
Oh, there is one coming in.
Ooh, I like that one that Robin just did. When is IPL switching to HOTS?
Oh, okay, yeah.
That is a good one.
Do you want me to take this one, Frank?
Go ahead, man. You were the PR master, so I'll let you take this one.
Well, here's another fun little teaser of an announcement just for climbing the ladder.
All right.
IPL may be very integral in the release of Heart of the Swarm, and there's a good potential that our tournaments are going to be switching shortly thereafter. It all depends. We're going to make it so that it's a process that we make sure that players are prepared, and we make sure that we're not just going to force players to switch a couple of weeks before an event, nor are we going to completely ignore the title altogether. So we're going to make sure that it's a very smooth transition, but Heart of the Swarm will be a pretty integral part of what we do in 2013.
Like
There's
IPL 6?
Well, there's a
Or-
pretty notable event that happens
An
in
IPL
March.
And IPL 6 is like in March, right?
In March.
Yeah.
Mm.
There's still a lot to get worked out. I really want to announce something, but I can't. But we'll figure it out soon.
But
Nothing.
nothing pre-release though.
I'll tell you what's
right?
not going to happen. We're not just going to ignore Heart of the Swarm and keep going Wings of Liberty forever. That's not going to happen. So don't have fear of that.
All right. Yeah, that's going to be a pretty interesting, interesting thing to watch as to like when the term
Isn't South by Southwest in March?
Yep.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Mid-March. Yeah.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah,
Interesting.
That's
Isn't that-
interesting.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
I may have to talk to you about that offline later, Frank. To be
No
honest,
problem.
actually, to be honest with you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking forward to stuff in March, but okay.
Ooh, there's
I love
there's
Austin.
There's another one about Kespa, and that one actually came up during the event. I actually got in touch with Kespa during the event, and I know on the Good Show, Adebisi was bringing up some of the things they wanted on that thread. I have had now a decent dialogue with Kespa finally. Will there be Kespa players in IPL events? Don't know, but I am talking to them. It was like my mission to make it happen for IPL 5. Couldn't quite get it done. I am really actively working on it. That's one of my high-level priorities, not a day-to-day priority. But that's one of the things I'm really trying to get done is to have Kespa players in online IPL events and in live events. So if it can be done, I'm going to try to get it done.
That would be awesome. I'd love to see Flash and Jaedong and those guys all at IPL events. That'd be amazing. Well, all right, guys. Why don't we wrap things up? It's been a phenomenal show, and you guys are always great. You know, obviously last times you guys have been on it was awesome, so I wasn't expecting any less, especially with such a wonderful event that you guys ran this weekend. But one last thing, I felt like I have to say one thing about IPL is that I felt like there were a lot of people who just flew in. You know, it felt like an event. You know what I mean? Like not just a tournament, but just a full-out event. And I felt like one of the ways that it kind of, it was kind of shown is that a lot of folks just flew in just to have a good time for like a day or two at the event. I feel like, just industry folks or whatever. And I wish I was one of those people, but I just couldn't get away just because my wife. I'm going to be at CES, so my wife wouldn't let me go to Vegas in this, twice in the span of a month, I guess. But,
Dang.
But yeah, so that was really cool. I think that's a pretty good litmus test as to like how good your event is run when people are willing just to jump on a plane, fly out for a day, and hang out with everybody, and then kind of go home. So, but yeah, Kevin, Frank, great show, and you guys have any shout outs you want to do? Kevin, you go first.
Yeah, mostly just want to thank everyone at IGN Pro League for putting on such an amazing event. Thanks to everyone who tuned in. We could not absolutely do it without you. I know that sounds like a very trite and corny line that's used a lot, but it's actually true, because if we had put on this event, 10 people would have watched it online. We wouldn't be doing esports events. So thanks to everyone who's tuning in, and hopefully you'll enjoy the awesome new announcements and content that are coming out over the next couple of months.
Awesome, Frank.
Definitely big shout to all the in-house IGN and IPL staff, and really thanks to IGN for the front page takeover. Was huge. Not only was it huge for our event, it was just important to know how important IPL is to IGN, so that actually felt really good. So huge thank you to those guys. Huge thank you to all the IPL staff who worked at the event. We've had basically the same set of workers for IPL 3. They've been overworked every single time, and they still keep coming out. So thank you all, guys. I know some of them are in chat here. Thank you very, very much for coming out and working. It's always appreciated. And yeah, thank you to sponsors and fans who make it possible. And I actually do want to thank the players this time. There were very, very few problems as far as that went. Everyone was super cooperative. There weren't a lot of complaints. And really, the players. And lastly, I want to thank GSL and GomTV, operations and production, because they are a special group of people. Pleasure to work with, great to party with too, and they really made the event come together.
John, did you want to answer that question? You kind of cut and paste.
Yeah, okay, so a couple of people are asking me about CSN. Next week, or the week after, I suppose, I will elaborate on it, but I am no longer with Cybersports Network. And so I can't answer the question on the Slayers jackets or things like that, and I honestly can't say what's going on at CSN right now. So just wanted to make that clear, and I'll touch on it later. It's not really a huge deal. But obviously my name on Twitch is CSN_John Clark, but I'll see about changing that possibly. So I'll work on that. And shout-outs, I really don't have any right now. So
okay, I just again, I just want to thank obviously Kevin and Frank for coming on, John as always, for co-hosting with me, and obviously Mark too for co-hosting the show. And it's I know I announced in the beginning of the show that he's leaving the show, but there is a small chance he might not. So I'll just leave that at least on the table, that there's a small chance he might not leave Climbing the Ladder. But right now it looks like he will be leaving. And again, we'll try to do a last show with Mark. It's like everybody's leaving shows. Like, what's going on, man? But I do want to give a shout out to not only all the folks watching, as always, the viewers and the mods to help out in the stream chat, but I want to give a shout out to all my Twitter followers, because I know I can be annoying as hell during tournaments, because I'm tweeting like a mofo, because I'm just so crazy excited, whenever I'm watching tournaments like IPL. So I want to give you a shout out so that you can. Oh man, my son's like knocking on the door. But I want to give you a shout out just that I appreciate your patience and not just unfollowing me like a mass exodus of unfollowers because of my crazy enthusiasm. But yeah, so big shout out to you guys. But the VODs will be available shortly, probably tonight sometime. And so if you guys missed any of the beginning, you guys can check it out. But yeah, that's going to be it, guys, for Climbing the Ladder. Next week, we're going to have Robert Olin, Mr. DreamHack Boss, on here to talk about anything, DreamHacks and the partnership and any of that stuff. So should be a good time. So we will. It's going to be. Oh, and the Climbing the Ladder will be back to the regular date on Tuesday. So, jeez. And so okay, I guess we'll see you next time, folks. Peace.
Thanks.
Bye.